Need some people pushing on the zone right now.
Moving.
Look up.
He's under our bridge right now. Two players.
The community responded by rightfully group casting vicious mockery. On the 14th of January, an exciting announcement was made by a community member known as SJF, an enlisted Twitch streamer. SJF announced via the Enlisted Clan Hub Discord that he was holding a new format of tournament to push the boundaries of what is typically considered competitive Enlisted. The Lords of Labrie tournament was its name, and the grand prize was $200 for the victorious team. Rather than the usual conquest matches, SJF wanted to hold a tournament focused on the invasion game mode and Normandy Labrie map, with a specific rule set that would promote a larger degree of variety in the meta. For those who don't know, generally for competitive games, Enlisted is played at BR5 using all the available gear in the game on conquest maps. Unfortunately, the meta is very predetermined at the moment. The Japanese and Allied forces are a tier above their Axis and Soviet counterparts. There is basically no reason to run Russians or the Germans, as the T-20 and Type A automatic are the two strongest weapons in the game. The Allies also have access to the Universal Carrier Event APC, and generally the Studebaker, Gaz and the Isuzu are the better APCs compared to the absolute slop the Germans unfortunately have. Recently, clans have begun to agree that vehicles can create unbalanced and less interesting gameplay in BR5, as BR5 vehicles are ridiculously overpowered. The American HVAR planes, the King Tiger, and even tanks like the Panzer IIIN and Panzer II Flam. Anyway, that's enough talk about BR5, because for this tournament, SJF was throwing the gauntlet into BR4. This is an interesting tier, as the power level is still quite high, but without access to full auto rifles, soldiers with automatic weapons such as assaulters, guerrillas and machine gunners become a lot more viable. These soldier types are pretty much not relevant in the BR5 meta, as they can't make use of the select fire rifles such as the T-20. Interestingly, the rules would also include that everything to be used in the tournament must be a currently tech tree available item, and players may only bring 4 squads to the match. This is to equalise the difference between free-to-play and paying players. Further, players must not repeat a squad type in their lineup, so you can have an assaulter squad, engineer squad and rifleman squad, but you wouldn't be able to bring 2 or more assaulter squads. This means the players may only bring 1 vehicle as well, so it would be important to develop an understanding of which vehicles are best and how to balance the number of APCs, tanks and planes within your team. Finally, for the major rules, each faction was provided with certain exceptions to gain access to selected powerful BR5 gear. The USSR was granted the PPD-40, a fast-firing and large mag capacity SMG, as well as the LA-7 and IL-10 planes. The Allies similarly were given a large capacity SMG in the form of the Thompson 50 round drum variant, as well as the M4A2 76W. As Japan already had access to the Tokyo Arsenal in BR4, they were instead granted tank and plane options, being the newly added auto-loading Chi-Ri 2 and J2M3 fighter. Ultimately, the Axis forces received a plane capable of using Wuffiger rockets in the Focke-Wulf 190A8 to compete with the AP-4C the Americans have in BR4, in addition to gaining the Corrali 39M. One of these Axis additions would turn out to be a lot more powerful than I think SJF had anticipated. On to the exciting preparation and theory crafting that ensued. I'm an absolute sucker for analysing the statistics of weapons and trying to innovate the best setups. I can get pretty focused on this, as I believe that fundamentally analysing and using the correct equipment and then practicing with it is the most effective strategy for preparation. I do have a history in small time and amateur level esports competition, across a few titles actually, with my main focus on Halo tournaments as a teenager, but also pursuing a high level in League of Legends and being a dominant team in the early times of indie game Splitgate. Shout out to my teammates and valued friends from my time playing on 3KV. Anyway, enough about me and stroking my ego. what were the first impressions of the L'Abri meta. I began discussions within the clan I play Enlisted with, EVA. We all pretty much agreed that the hands down best weapon would be the Corrali 39M, the exception for the Axis. This weapon has 40 rounds, an insane fire rate, but also really good accuracy and recoil. For now, I will say this was definitely the most used weapon of the tournament, heavily controlling the meta. To accompany this, the Axis have a pretty great semi-auto rifle for the other soldiers in the Czech ZH-29. The ZH stands out with a crazy reload speed and pretty on par stats with the other rifles in this tier, but also has the higher 15.8 damage stat, making it the deadliest weapon for a soldier to be caught in its sights. As highly egotistical players that may look down a little upon vehicle gameplay, we disregarded most vehicles, but did accept that we would probably need to use some. Tuya suggested the Ju-188 Stuka bomber, and we agreed that its heavy payload of 6 250kg bombs was going to be pretty devastating in the open fields of L'Abri. So, we began to equip our squads, enlist the best soldiers, fine-tune and upgrade each weapon, and level everything in the fields of war ready for some practice sessions. With only about 3 weeks of time before the tournament would begin, we had only a few weekends to get practice games in, as a fair number of our members have busy schedules. This didn't stop us though, we still managed to have some high quality practice matches with around 6 to 8 players on each side. This was still enough to help us understand and develop a strategy for how to attack and defend, but did leave us a few players short of good opportunities to make use of vehicle play. We did try some unconventional strategies, such as making use of flamethrowers, but generally we learned that engineers fortifying the point, as well as guerrillas making flanks, were the more powerful and reliable strategies. In our second set of practices, we managed to have full 10v10 lobbies and experimented more with vehicle suggestions. Khan showed us how effective APCs could actually be, after we initially theorized they would be too vulnerable on L'Abri. We also became victims of HVAR spam from the AP4C, and we understood then that vehicles would be very powerful. We decided that since players cannot cycle between vehicles themselves, we would need multiple players in the US faction to make use of the Corsair and its HVARs. This was a problem though, as the weapons the Allies have for BR4, even including the 50-round Thompson, are pretty bad in comparison to other factions. We decided because of this, only 2 players would play as USA at a time, and coordinate to maintain as much uptime of HVAR planes as possible. We did learn this a little too late for comfort though, as we delegated this role to Vofo, who had to grind a lot of USA squads and try to figure out at least some sort of viable weapon to use, and I really can't overstate how weak the Allies are for infantry combat here. Their SMGs are really not that viable to use without a substantial amount of practice to compensate for the dreadful muzzle velocity the Thompsons have. We also tried to make use of American mortars, as they actually gain access to their most powerful mortar at BR4 compared to other factions waiting for theirs at BR5. This was to try and provide support on objectives, whilst avoiding using American weapons. This didn't really prove to be that useful though, despite mortars being annoying in practice. It's really difficult to measure their impact compared to just having an entire extra player trying to contest the objective with bodies on the point. So far, we have learned that Japan was at least somewhat viable, as they still had powerful but not the best weapons in terms of the Tokyo arsenal, and a decent APC in the Isuzu. Japan also has a major benefit here, as every single soldier is able to equip the Shin Gunto Katana, which makes Japanese soldiers 50% faster for running around the map. This helps in blitzkrieging objectives and for far away flanking. Using the Japanese APC, the AP4C for rockets, and the Stuka for bombs, which also proved powerful in testing for destroying defences, tanks and squads of infantry, we only had left to figure out which tanks we wanted to use. The best options for each faction seemed to be the higher tier heavy tanks. For Japan, it would be their Exception in the Chiri 2, or the Chiha Shore, which is a 120mm naval gun. For Axis, the clear choice is the Tiger H1, as this tank cannon is capable of destroying any other tank in this tier and is the most effective against infantry. We decided within EVA that the Soviet tanks were no good, as their reloads were going to be too long in the case of something like the KV-2, and their mobility too slow in terms of the KV-1. It did turn out that pretty much every clan avoided using Russia in this tournament, as they had no clear advantage in any way over the other factions. As for allied tanks, they are okay, decently mobile, and the stabilizers make them a lot easier to use on the hilly areas of Libri. But the main problem would be having to use USA infantry weapons, so we kept USA to a minimum only for plain use. From our practices, and also what I observed from other clans' replays, the effectiveness of heavy tanks was mixed. They were sturdy against infantry weapons, and provided okay support, but were too slow to keep up with the flow of battle and position correctly. I think most teams decided against focusing on tank use, but we actually wanted to innovate and break the mold. We studied tank positions for each objective, and with feedback and advice from tank mains, found pretty effective ways to make use of a tank. Speaking of, which tank would be fairly mobile, have semi-decent armor, and absolutely obliterate enemy infantry? There is no other substitute than the incredibly overpowered Panzer IIIN. This tank has HE and heat shells that demolish infantry with a high fragment count and a 15-meter splash radius. Coupled with the base 3-second reload, it's so easy for this tank to clear an objective and keep out reinforcements. The 3N also has a trick up its sleeve. It's able to make use out of its smoke shells, which would allow infantry to close the gap on attacking objectives by blinding the defenders. This isn't as useful on defense as it was on attack, but the Panzer IIIN perfectly fulfilled the role that we needed a tank to fulfill. At this point in time, we had all our plans put into place. We had decided on a strategy for attacking and defending each objective, which flanks to use, which vehicles and weapons. Meanwhile, there was some slightly funny drama going on within the Enlisted clan hub, and plenty more drama following the tournament. We'll cover post-tournament drama following the main event, but for now... On the day of the tournament being announced, and its rule set being posted for the competitors to see, a certain person was very unhappy with what they saw within the rules. One of the minor rules which SJF included was that whilst AT gun emplacements could be constructed and used, their use of HE shells fired from them would not be allowed. I believe this single rule alone cracked the fragile ego of an Enlisted YouTube creator. I am of course talking about Paradivision. For those of you not aware, PD presents himself as a pretentious god gamer, with absolutely no flaws in his own play. He often relies upon strategies within Enlisted that don't require a lot of skill, and ends up unironically believing he is one of the greatest players of all time. Well, unfortunately, the thing Paradivision is best at is actually deserting matches when the going gets even slightly tough, as he proclaims himself in this post he made last year. Anyway, Paradivision made a point to call out SJF's rules as spaghetti rules that were illogical and not in the best interest of the community. Yeah, as a person not participating in competitive Enlisted, he does seem to have a better idea of what would be the rule set with the most competitive integrity. You can see on screen now the waffle that Paro was spouting, and here the community responded by rightfully group casting vicious mockery, ensuring at least 10d4 of psychic damage was dealt to this miserable boomer. Another drama was brewing within the ranks of a competing clan, RGD. Uber Waffler, on screen here in Discord as Boris, made some weirdly patriotic LARPing post about Europe wanting Russian motherland. Boris was recently part of the other competing clan, U45N, before falling out with them over some disagreement that I don't have the details for. All I can really say is that this is subtle foreshadowing, as the petty drama from RGD members is hilarious but also really cringe. Enlisted is not really a large game for egos of this level to be brewing. The day of the tournament. It is important to be well rested for events like this, and a piece of advice I can offer for newcomers to tryharding in games is that these kind of things are a marathon. It's paramount that you don't burn out or run low on energy. It's good to warm up beforehand, but best to play in a less serious mode, as gaining a confidence booster is necessary for performing well against good players. My plan was to play a few matches of Enlisted random battles following a session in Kovacs Aim Trainer. The tournament bracket was posted and the matches were to begin shortly. On one side, U45N would be facing off against RGD, whilst EVA would be battling a newcomer clan in USSR. I don't know too much about USSR, as these guys are relatively new to the scene, and to my knowledge don't speak very much English. Communication between them, us and the organisers was mostly done with Google Translate. No problems were had, of course. It all went well in setting up the lobby and getting everyone into the game. As you can guess by their clan tag, USSR, all members of their team played as Japan. Nah, I'm just messing with you. They were all using Soviets. This would place them at a slight disadvantage, but I admire the effort to represent your own country within the game. As we had access to more than 10 players on our roster, you'll see that the players are changed around to suit different positions and factions that are needed, and also just to let more of our members get some experience in the games. For our games against USSR, we had the following 10 players, and I'll make note any time someone is switched around. Bone, Cup, myself, Ghostweed, Gladiator, Khan, Massacres, Mink, Votho, and Zama. We had planned to have Berlinoid play with us in this tournament, who is in my opinion the best Enlisted console player. Unfortunately, on this day, PlayStation or Sony was being DDoSed by hackers or something. PSN was down for basically the entire day, and Berlin was not able to compete with us. On to the games.
What have I got?
To begin, we would defend on Le Brie West. Our first defense point was along the road, rather than in the more exposed house. There is a little bit of RNG to the invasion mode, and it can be considered a little unbalanced if the map has incredibly favourable defense positions, while the other option at that point can be easy for the attackers to take. Le Brie does have a slight imbalance in the defense points, but it's actually more minimal and the better team will probably still win in most cases. We fortified the defense building with check hogs and barbed wire, and placed our APCs well. We had a firepower advantage over USSR in terms of weapons, but also in player skill.
The zone, sorry.
They're spawning here from a double ping. Nice.
Bombs in 20.
Do we need another player to the left? I can come.
No, I got
Someone
it.
on point, someone's
Okay.
on point.
Okay, I'm gonna stay around the zone.
The boss.
Enemy tank coming up. Truck. It's not letting me mark, but those triple marks are kind of near it.
I think they have a rally around there near that trench where you pinged that truck as well.
Deal with me.
I got all my bombs out, I think.
They got my rally. I think they flanked right. I think they flanked right. They must have, right?
Thank you.
I killed him with the bomb. He died.
They got bomber coming in.
I don't
no
have a
rallies,
rally
I
up
think
right now.
rallies.
Do we have many rallies?
I can,
We only have one
oh,
rally.
they're getting onto it.
Big push from the right, like 3 squads.
I'm
We
moving
need
right.
people on, there's only a few people on point. Right?
On my marker, there's a rally in the trench.
Down point, flamethrower.
What was it?
Yeah, throw shit into the top. Let's try and exhaust this.
Flame on the right, dead.
One guy on the point. Top stairs.
He's in the
Zone clear, zone clear.
Point,
We need people to stick the zone though.
I'm bringing
I can stick my
on
squad in the zone.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, my squad is on point.
Push on left.
We got the rally on the right.
I'm gonna get it right now.
There's a player coming from the left.
Got it.
Nice.
Alright, they're going to probably adjust to the left side now since we quit their right rallies.
Drone push.
I'm building a rally on the right side just to have one.
Yeah, quite a few people in front push.
They're pushing left right now. They broke our rallies on left. They got like 2 players on the left.
People on point.
APC marked.
Bombs.
People on point.
People on point.
Dead.
Nice, nice.
I'm here.
Close rally going down.
Oh, fuck that RT.
Yeah, me too.
They have a
Yes.
truck there on the left. Anyone get there?
I can take out the truck.
Coming middle.
I'm dead.
On the left.
I'm gonna
push.
put
Around here
In front.
on that mark. The ping,
Yeah, I need people in point
the
of
pin,
view.
the pin.
I'm moving.
I'm coming into zone right now.
Because I'm alone on movement.
I'm here.
Okay.
There are a lot of them around this barn to the left of the zone.
We need more rallies up.
Behind us, they're behind us.
Yeah, they're behind.
They're getting on rally. Good flamethrower.
A guy on the point. 2 guys on the point.
Yeah, I got a guy off the point. There's a squad coming left side of point right now from the barn.
Downstairs, 2 guys.
Need people at zone, I'm only 1 soldier.
Horsehair in the air. I'm ready.
Check. I don't know what that. Oh, I can.
Big push from the front, like 3 squads.
Okay.
30 seconds for rockets.
I'm only 1 soldier on the zone right now. We need more people in zone.
I'm with you.
Okay, I'm moving off zone to play aggressive. I'm only 1 soldier.
They're pushing mid to right.
We have 2 rockets left. Flamer on point.
I think they still have stuff like a rally around that marker.
Hey,
Yeah,
behind
they're
us.
flanking right, maybe 1 guy. Yeah, gorilla behind.
It's just 1 dude.
Oh yeah, plane's not gonna be operating any much longer. Enemy fighters up. Bird going down.
Getting a new close rally on the right.
Strong right push. Very strong right push.
This is their strike in the road. Their strike in the main road.
We managed to defend our first objective point for an entire 900 tickets, and USSR was unsuccessful in capturing any further objectives. This is a monumental victory in the first game, as the scoring of the tournament is based entirely on capturing an objective. If you were, for example, to capture 3 objectives, whilst the enemy only takes 2 from you, that would be considered a 3-2 victory in terms of points. What would happen following this game is that, after playing defense on West, we would then attack on West. Then, we would attack on East, and lastly, we would defend on East. This gives both teams an opportunity to score up to 10 points each. If the teams are still tied after 4 matches of attack and defense, the 5th match would be a decider, played on an equal Labrie conquest, winner takes all. Going into our first attacking match, where the score is currently 1-0 for USSR, is a good position for us to be in, as we only need 2 objective captures to take the lead in the series.
On the left, yeah.
You see
Rally
that?
in this house is marked.
Yeah.
They blocked themselves up. They blocked themselves up.
Yeah, they blocked their own entrance. Left side on the trench. On the trench.
Yeah, I'm shooting there. I see them. Most of them are dead on the left.
Good shit.
Losing
Someone
some soldiers
screenshot
in the
it.
zone.
Make sure you capture how many
got
points
it.
they got.
1 point. I got a screenshot.
Heading into Game 2, I immediately spawned in the Panzer IIIN, as USSR is unlucky and received the easier objective for the attackers to take. I am able to lay devastation into the objective, as this one is a lot more open to attacker tanks. My team members push aggressively and flank well, leading to a capture of this objective in 75 tickets.
It's quite clear right now. Zone should be empty.
Behind point is quite lively.
I think I heard a tank.
Upstairs.
Got the guys.
Point's clear right now.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, APC.
Where?
I'm HEing the zone right now.
Yeah, short.
I'm about to start HE spamming.
Bring a JU in as well.
One guy on the point. Upstairs.
I can try to kill him. Pulling a JU. It's she alpha.
Yeah, sure. That's not right.
Who's behind point right now? Are there any? How many are on point actually?
Well, we need to push point. There's nobody.
Yeah,
on
we
point
need people
at the moment.
focusing on point right now.
I'm on this.
I'm
The
going.
zone is pretty cleared. I'm shelling them as they're coming
There's
back
two
to the zone.
gorilla squads on the point.
Remember, any soldier on the zone is good. Even if you're just one soldier, it's still good.
In our next 175 tickets, we were able to successfully take a second capture point, pushing the series score to 2-1. I stayed within my panzer for this entire objective as well, with Zamo piloting the Corsair, which made it difficult for USSR to reinforce the objective which our ground forces were attacking. I lost my panzer to a bombing attack, informing Massacres that he would be needing to spawn the tank and take up my position as I pivoted to the left flank via APC spawn to establish rallies for our team's third objective push, with the help of Gladiator. On L'Abri Invasion, the third objective is always the same, and arguably the most difficult one to attack as defenders have a wide view of the fields which must be crossed. Utilising flanks from the far left and right side, we claimed the third objective whilst losing only 100 more tickets.
What is that HMG? What did that guy build?
There's a rally around on my mark here, Glad. In this area, if you see the map pin.
There's a truck mark, but it's too close to the point.
I got the rally gone. Breaking another rally, 2 rallies gone.
Yeah,
I'm hunting a third. A big push on the zone is good right now. If we just flood the zone and kill them, we win the war of attrition. They have no
Pushing
spawns.
zone.
We continued our attack on the left flank, reaching objective 4 at the cost of 125 tickets. With 525 tickets remaining, the outcome looked positive that we would successfully capture all 5 objectives. The last objective on L'Abri West, also being the first on East, has the possibility of being 3 different locations. A longer, destroyed house near the south riverbank, the central church location, or is it a chapel? And lastly, the mostly intact house on the cusp of the north riverbank. We got the south location, so continued our offense on the left flank. I brought forward the panzer to shell the objective, as well as positioning aggressively to deny reinforcements using the bridge near their natural spawn headquarters.
Oh, come on, that killed. In the building.
Enemy plane up.
Need some people pushing on the zone right now.
Moving.
Good bombs, good fucking bombs.
I'm getting killed. Here, I think. There's somebody like around me.
Right, not clear.
Nice. Well done.
My tank didn't last long in this position, but allowed us to gain half of the capturing progress. I focused my next spawn on setting up a sandbag rally in a favourable position to support our frontal assault. In the final push, Zamo landed a HVAR run that wiped out an entire flank of USSR defenders. 25 kills in total, leaving the objective vulnerable, and we jumped on the opportunity, winning the match with 250 tickets remaining. With the series score at 5-1, a single attacking capture would ensure that we at minimum would need to play a conquest decider if USSR were to claim 5 objectives back and equalize at 6-6. A second attacking capture would mean that USSR has no chance of equalizing and the series would be concluded. For this game, Zamo was substituted for Sansu. For the beginning of this match, as I mentioned for the final point of L'Abri West, the first point of L'Abri East has 3 possibilities. And we got the church. Chapel? Just FYI, these maps are basically the same, just backwards and forwards. Khan brought the APC to position under the bridge, whilst I drove my tank to a key place near the bridge that allowed me to fire shells into basically the entirety of the church. With the objective left open, we made an aggressive push to claim our first objective in this match with 900 tickets remaining. 6-1.
Okay, we need bodies in the zone. We need bodies in the zone.
Got their
Call on the
rally.
Do we have anybody in the plane right now? Their plane just went over to try to bomb me. Okay. Their plane just passed our spawn to bomb. Which is it? Okay.
After losing my panzer to plane bombs, I made a flank to the right side to secure a rally position, and was also trying to build an AA gun to deal with the enemy pilot. Whilst I was faffing around, my team got to the job and captured the objective in record time, costing only 162 tickets. By this point, it was understood that we had claimed a 7-1 victory over USSR, but in good sportsmanship, we continued to play this match out. We did manage to claim all 5 objectives, and since the battle between U45N and RGD was still ongoing, we offered USSR to play out the final would-have-been match as we defended on Labrie East. They were unable to claim any objectives, and the score would end at an official 7-1 but unofficial 10-1 in favour of EVA. For the final match against USSR, we had Fatloot and Carlos play in place of Bone and Khan. Some people would look at our victory over USSR and discredit it to some degree, saying that USSR are weak players or that the match was decided beforehand. To those people, I would say that by no means was USSR an easy or free victory for us. We played against them with our full effort, and they put up a better fight than expected. I applaud this team for their efforts, and would be excited to see them return in the future with more experience, as well as any other newcomer clans who want to take a stab at competing in these tournaments. Bravo to USSR, and GG's. On the other side of the tournament bracket, things were heating up, both in-game and out, between U45N and RGD. To my knowledge, this series went the full 4 games back and forth between both teams. I can't confirm the scores from each match for the captured objective, but I do have the scoreboards. Game 1 sees U45N defending on west, then in Game 2 attacking on west. For Game 3, RGD defended on east, and finally RGD attacked on east. This series was closely fought, with U45N coming out the victor with a 6-3 scoreline, defeating RGD. I didn't catch these games myself as I was playing in my own matches, but from what I know of these two teams, U45N likely had a big strategic advantage and were able to stifle the aggression of the RGD side. Heading into the finals against U45N, we swapped back to our Game 1 roster featuring Khan and Zamo. After a coin flip, we find out that we will be defending first on Labrie West. The nerves began to build with excitement as the finals against U45N would be challenging but fun. These two clans have battled before, but that was before I began playing Enlisted. U45N was victorious back then in a close series. However, we were determined to change the status quo and defeat them, aware of how tough the battle would be. At the start of the match, we see we have the harder to defend objective. I order Massacres to use the tank in our research spot, and I spawn to secure a rally. The enemy were quick to push many players directly towards the objective in a full frontal assault. As we fought them back well, an enemy destroyed the flank rally that I had placed. I didn't think much of this at the time, as flanks were expected and I communicated what had happened. Their front assault left them vulnerable to a HVAR pass from Zamo, as he killed many and cleared the nearby rally. I spawned a tank as my next squad, and U45N had done a great job at clearing all of our respawns. As it turns out, they had established a base of spawns on the flank that I had built my initial rally. They began swarming from the right side and took a lot of control around the objective, pushing us back. Something that we had not experimented with basically at all was HMG nests. At this point, U45N had already established 2 of them and began mowing down our defending reinforcements. This type of play was incredibly smart from them, as it entirely overwhelmed us for the first objective, capturing it at the cost of 187 tickets. As I had only 1 remaining soldier, I played for a delaying play, and to annoy anyone trying to build a rally within the town, which is what I was expecting. Unfortunately, I wasted a lot of time here, as nobody from the U45N side came to the centre. The entirety of their team was focused on super far out flanks. They continued to make use of HMGs, but thankfully, our close air support was able to suppress them in return. There was a back and forth fight within the objective as U45N continued to hunt and destroy our rallies. We managed to neutralise and control the objective, but this was short-lived. Enemy flankers had reached deep into our territory and began to ambush our respawners. With this knowledge, the respawns of U45N members came rushing at the zone to overpower it with a large number of soldiers. Their attack on the second objective was successful after an average cost of 188 tickets. The strategy and attack from U45N was well planned and coordinated. At this point, you may think we are completely boomed. However, Keep in mind that losing roughly 200 tickets over the course of 5 objectives, with a 1000 ticket starting point, is not a big problem, and all it would take would be one solid defense of an objective to stifle this push. But this did not happen on the 3rd objective. U45N were merciless and unyielding in this attack, and took the next objective in record time. Only holding them back for 125 tickets is a problem, and they were taking a big advantage in the series with this offense strategy.
When you can.
Yeah.
Flanking, they're on the right river right now, down on my pings.
I'm just gonna reinforce point. I'm not gonna mess around. I'm just gonna go straight defending.
There's new people on point, new people on point.
I have a strong push on that.
Yeah,
I'm dead.
After yet again a powerful offensive swarm, they captured our 4th defense position after 138 tickets. We are holding pretty well, as the enemy tickets are draining fast. I do lose my tank to an accurate plane bombing, and we can see that the enemy is flanking the left side. U45N is left with 100 tickets. It's such an insanely close match at this point.
Yeah, they got my tank,
resisted.
they got my tank.
You got my energy.
He's under our bridge right now. 2 players, 2 players. 2 players close left on the flank.
Everybody get your feet on the point, I guess.
I don't have time to get a rally, I don't
Huge
think.
push coming.
Yeah,
It's
I can't
100
get a
tickets.
rally, I can't get a rally. I'm just pushing for the zone.
We can push through 100 tickets.
They're in the bottom floor of the zone. Their arty strike as well, their arty strike cleared me.
Sadly, with 62 tickets remaining, the final objective is captured, and U45N takes a commanding lead of the series with a 5-0 score. This game was incredibly well played by the opposition, and we were just barely able to relatively stabilize the best we could, but not soon enough. Facing such a strong opponent, and with a strategy we had not seen, did dent our morale a little. We reconciled with each other during the break before the next game, and recovered our mentality by going over the plan again. We decided that the strategy used by U45N was so powerful and similar enough to ours that we would try to implement the far flanking in our attack as they had. Let's see if we were able to recover and bring the score to parity in Game 2. Massacres and I began our push on the left side flank through the forests of Normandy. Within the forest, we met resistance from Maniac, Hyrule and Snakestyle, but we overcame them in the initial fight. This would make pushing from here difficult though, as they were definitely going to be aware that we had built a rally in that area to push from. Unfortunately, although we successfully pushed through the defenders toward the objective, a sneaky player managed to find and destroy the rallies we had built there.
We're pushing in from the side. I'm gonna take my
Oh,
I've only
yeah.
got 1 soldier, I'm going for a
Point's
flank
clear.
rally.
Most they know about my run.
Okay, Age World Stats coming. Where do you want it?
Fine. On this side, on the pin. On the side, on the pin.
Okay.
That as well.
Maniac's over there as well.
Killing Maniac.
I just slammed them.
At the wall on the
Dude,
pin.
they're on top of me. They're all up in the left. Like they already got my don't spawn my APC. It's already dead.
They got our rally. They got our rallies on the left. We have zone right now. We need people in cap if we can.
Got a BP.
Make my way to the bottom flank.
Who's in the square?
Nice, big cap guys. Huge fucking cap.
Thankfully, this wouldn't matter, as within 187 tickets, we managed to secure full control over the village and capture the objective. Things are looking good, as we managed to capture arguably the harder objective in the exact same amount of tickets as U45N had done. For the second objective, we again got a different zone than we had for defense. We swapped our flank to begin pushing on the right side, although a few of us attempted a left side flank. This was a bad decision, as taking the left side is almost entirely pointless for capturing this bunker objective, as you have to cross a lot of distance and there isn't really anywhere good for rallies to be placed on this side. The fight on the left side was this time victorious for U45N, and they maintained their rallies on this flank. Over on the right side flank, Bigote was being an absolute menace, as he had clearly spent a lot of time in practice fighting on this side of the map. Bigote, Zumbrum and Moisha made it difficult to take control of this eastern flank and set up any rallies at all. We began to lose a lot more tickets than was comfortable, and our flanking opportunities were slim, as U45N had complete control of the left side in combination with it being a poor option to push from. We did eventually manage to remove the rallies from the east and gain more ground to cover our pushes from. We began to bring as many players as we could to attack from the side we had won. We came extremely close to capturing the objective, but our forces were whittled down and we lost our respawns on that flank. As we were running dangerously low on tickets around the 250 mark, we went for a large frontal push, as there was no time to try and re-establish the flanks. This objective was so incredibly difficult to take, and we honestly did not see it that often in practice, so our strategy for this attack was woefully undeveloped. The soldiers capturing this zone are incredibly vulnerable to artillery strikes, which U45N did a fantastic job of keeping as much uptime as possible. The defenders have an easier time getting on top of this bunker, as well as there being only 2 entrance doors on the defender side. This means that defenders can keep objective control from within, where they must be dug out by an attacker breaching inside. With 162 of our tickets remaining, we finally managed to overcome the defense of U45N on this objective. We immediately began to send players back to the left flank, as that was our preferred direction of attack for the third objective. Our forces that were on the objective as it was captured remained to pick off stragglers, and attack from that direction as we were already there, in hopes to delay the defenders from establishing some map control. As we pushed the right flank, we met again with Hiru, Moisha and Snakestyle. Seeing the same names over the course of a match is a clear indicator that players on U45N had been given a strict game plan to follow, and were playing their positions on the map.
Enemy squads, right? Yeah? Yeah, in the forest right now. 2 players in the forest, 2 guerrilla squads in the forest.
We're getting them.
You want me to go left or right?
I'm dead. Near the dead tiger,
I decided to spawn the Panzer IIIN again, as this objective is particularly vulnerable from this attacking direction. I claimed a huge amount of kills inside the objective, wiping out basically 3 entire squads. Yeah, HE is definitely fair and balanced, guys. Anyway, I continued shelling, as well as calling out reinforcements from the right side forest. Unfortunately, despite the defenders inside the zone being wiped repeatedly, U45N held insane lines of fire and entirely halted our attackers.
No one's on zone. One on zone.
I'm HE shelling zone still. Killing Zumbrum. Zumbrum on zone. Also, they're seeing them come out the forest on the right. I'm shelling over there, getting some kills. I'm gonna re-smoke the zone for us to get close.
Up.
Good job.
I'm shelling zone still. I'm clearing them off the zone.
That's
The zone is full of them.
Yeah, the zone's chock full, bro.
I'm clearing the zone. I've killed 8 inside the zone.
No, there's no one point. No one.
In a last-ditch effort, after running out of shells, I planned to bring my tank close, to disembark and flood the zone with my last squad, as we were about to run out of tickets. I was sadly destroyed by a revenge Panzerfaust and sent to the spectating seat. With our ground forces dwindling and time running out, we were defeated in this match after taking only 2 objectives. 2U reminded us that we had done better than RGD on this version of attack, as they had only taken 1 objective against U45N. So, we headed into the next game with a good mentality that we were still in this series. As we began our third match, attacking on Labrie East, we leapt into action for the first objective. Our first objective to attack in this direction was the house to the left of the church. We decided to make a frontal assault with 6 of our players and send a force of 4 players to construct rallies on the right flank and push from that side to remove enemy rallies. We lost on the frontal push, but had rallies established on the right and began to hunt the enemy spawn points.
Town and break their rallies.
Maniac is right flank already.
Okay, you guys need to kill Maniac off, okay? You have to work together and kill him off.
They have rally here. Dead.
I'm dead.
We were unsuccessful in this, and again, U45N managed to sneak some players behind us and remove our rallies on this side. With this in mind, we decided to switch focus towards the left side river. We got some rallies up as well as a super safe APC on this side. We gained space towards the windmill, and without finding rallies, Vofo and I pushed into the objective and battled with Hiru.
I'm pushing left through the forest. They got soldiers
They have a
inside the
far rally here
forest.
on
Soldiers
Ping.
inside the forest.
Dude, this means that they're pushing
Okay.
into you. They're pushing
There's
into
so many in the
I went
forest.
down for that, but
Who's by church right now?
There's one squad on point. Upstairs. With a heavy MG.
Yes, high room with a...
A frag grenade through the window forced all of his bots to panic, and I cleared the objective with 2 clean gunfights. The capturing had begun for the first time in this match, and our team began to swarm multiple squads inside. We took this position after a grueling 350 tickets, but we got 125 in return. We would need to take at least another 2 objectives in this game to tie the score and go to a final match where we would defend against UFO5N. Upon my respawn, I called to regroup and push the right flank, but decided against it as we already had some control on the left. With a solid push through the windmill and forest areas, and a big payload of bombs, we pushed towards the objective and cleared some rallies along the way. Upon reaching the zone, we discovered that U45N had done a great job of fortifying the entrances with checkhogs, which would cause big problems for our AI soldiers. After some back and forth battling, we were down to 500 tickets remaining. We slowly gave up on the left flank, as this was near the enemy's natural spawn point, and refocused on a more direct approach to the zone. At 300 tickets remaining, U45N had a powerful chokehold across all parts of the map, and even began to encroach towards our spawn points and reduce our options of attack.
There's a lot of cover just like pushing up the mid. Just focus and push hard.
Yeah.
Finally got me around
Process 3.
We gotta clear out these buildings between us and the zone. They got like 2 or 3 players in each of these buildings.
They have a forward rally on the triple mark.
Yeah, point's empty, point's empty, point's empty.
Okay.
We began to quiet a bit in our communication, and it was clear that our morale was low and hopes for winning this match were getting quite slim. The defense was watertight, and there were few places to run without receiving a spray of bullets. I had an interesting battle on the right flank in the foresty hills against Maniac, and was able to beat him in this battle as I hunted for his rally.
Finally got the fucking river rally they've had up the entire game.
Unfortunately though, before I could actually reach it and destroy it, he managed to respawn and finish off my final soldier. Very unfortunate. 150 tickets remaining to take the second objective. The situation was dire, and we basically tried every avenue of attack to break this defense. In my final squad life, I managed to get a single engineer into the zone and created a little nest to hide in, a desperate Hail Mary play.
Zone's empty, I'm inside.
Yeah.
Back at there.
Yeah, but they're gonna send like boom squad to get you.
Dude, I'm so far behind that wall, how am I dead?
We did not end up capturing this second objective, and our tournament run ends here. With the last minute to talk within the match, we found solidarity in the fact that despite the drama and ego from RGD's side, it was pretty hilarious that we managed to do better than they did against U45N. Our final score in this series was a 5-3 in favour of U45N, who take home first place and the $300 prize pool. I did say in the beginning that this was a $200 prize pool, but during the event, SJF was donated an additional $100 by his father to contribute towards the pool. Congratulations to the winners for their tremendous play and excellent planning. You can see all of the participating U45N members' names on screen, as they are the currently standing best players in all of Enlisted. Just watch out for EVA members in your games as well, as we are also tryhards and hungry to take the trophy from them next time. In the following days of the tournament, well, in some people's cases only a few hours, there is some more juicy drama that unfolded. Takeyako made a comical piece depicting the reasons for RGD's defeat, and made a bit of a fool of himself. You can see the second point here that he says they were simply outplayed at a tactical level, and they were trained to be better next time. However, this is sandwiched between lame excuses about ping, rigging, and map objective luck. It seems like at least some members of the RGD clan are sore losers with bruised egos. Takeyako later continued to harass the tournament organizer, accusing SJF of rigging the matches in favour of U45N by having the games be played on European servers in some form of breaking the rules. Obvious misinformation aside, the server that the matches were played on entirely depended on a simple rule set. Firstly, the server in which the majority of players in the match had the best connection to would be the server played. Additionally, in the case of Eastern Europe and North America, it would be ideal to avoid forcing players in those regions to connect further than the center region, being Western Europe. To my knowledge, U45N has players from America and Asia, so their ideal server is Western Europe. Our teams in EVA had about a 6-4 split of America and Europe, and I believe all players in the USSR clan were from Russia? So, for most players, West Europe was a good middle ground compromise. I'm not sure where each RGD player plays from, but I was under the impression they had some more Central Europe players, and were not all based in Russia? I'm not entirely sure, of course, but you can draw your own conclusions on if it's unfair for RGD to play on West Europe servers, and I will state that it's entirely unprofessional and childish to accuse the organizer of rigging his own tournament. Additionally, the head honcho of RGD, known in-game as AFK is not excuse, got into a Discord argument against members of U45N, and I would love to show you the things he said, but moderators ended up deleting 100+ messages in an absolute meltdown. During our games, he also tried to contact us after RGD's defeat to give us some information about U45N's tactics. We ignored him, as this is incredibly unsportsmanlike and really paints the picture of the attitude this group of enlisted players have. And that is my coverage of the February 2025 Enlisted Invasion Tournament. I'm recording this near the end of March. I work really fast on these videos. You're welcome. We were unable to win this time, but I am incredibly proud of our performance and preparation. This is going up... I already made a joke about how long this is taking. I forgot that I had already included in mentioning this in the script. The reason this took so long is I procrastinated. Oops. For the future, SJF is intending to hold another tournament in the coming months, and EVA will definitely be participating. We really want to, but we're not entirely sure at this moment. You too can also participate either by signing up with a team or joining the Enlisted Clan Hub Discord to help in finding like-minded players. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you did enjoy this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, as a lot of work goes into making these. I'll see you in the next video, and maybe in the future, EVA will be claiming the crown.